Hi, welcome to the Chasing Tone podcast. I'm Travis.
I'm Max.
I'm Brian.
All right, yeah, man. So I just kind of want to get a little disclaimer out there real quick. Just this is we never really go off the deep end and say anything too bad, but every now and again we're gonna say some PG-13, words, right?
Yeah,
So just want to get that disclaimer. If you don't like some words that are allowed on television but are still a little harsh, maybe you want to get some earmuffs for the kids, right?
There you go.
Okay, so
This is a podcast by guitarists.
yeah, and it's Max put it well. He said, "Look, we have a limited vocabulary."
Musicians aren't smart.
But no, and if you've been following us, it's nothing too bad. But you probably know. Okay, enough of that, right? Let's get into some fun stuff,
just
right?
to get that out of the way.
Yeah, let's get into some gear, right? All right,
Gear.
So one thing I think is kind of cool is like the big craze now is, and I guess not now, it has been for a while, is the ever so popular low wattage amplifier.
Of course.
I mean, I've seen 1 watt amps. I mean, is it Marshall that just came out with a 1 watt amp? I can't remember, but
Yeah, I know Marshall did. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
actually several of them. I think Orange has the low wattage amp. Vox does.
But I mean, I'm talking like the 1 watt amps, But I mean, I've seen the one. I mean, I'm not even getting into power scaling or anything yet. Just straight up, 1 tube, 1 knob. Let's go. Most of them are around the 5 watt.
5 watts. I've seen a bunch of those, yeah.
So, a couple different things. Number one, I like to think we know why, but I mean, some people may not know why. And you can gas it harder, and most people know when you gas a tube harder, it saturates more, it compresses more, and that's the desirable tone, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I have my own personal opinions on, like, for example, I'm not a big fan of like the 1 watt, 5 watt, 10 watt.
Me
amps.
neither at all. At all. I can.
I mean, I would like personally. I like a 50 or 100 watt amp. I just think it's ballsier. It's got girth to it.
PG-13.
Well,
I'm joking. Joking.
It's more testicular.
You kept talking about girthy, ballsy. I'm like,
It's more testicular. So, but I mean, seriously, it's got more bottom, like real bottom end. You know what I mean?
Like the stuff you can feel.
Yes.
It's
almost like going from like a 10-inch little small cabinet into like a huge 412.
Right.
You know what I mean? In a way.
No, I don't think in a way. I think completely. The only exception I will make is I have an amp, and of course I like it because it's my amp. But no, I have an old blackface Princeton Reverb that for some reason is like an anomaly. Because would you agree with that?
it sounds good, yeah.
Yeah,
It's very low end.
It even sounds full with a band. So, but you're right, man. I haven't played although there's a great guitar player out of Bloomington. Her name's Sadie Johnson, and I did this blues festival, and she was on the same festival, and it was a rain thing. It got rained out, so we had to play inside, and I had this 100 watt amp, because it was a festival gig. And I was, what am I gonna do? And she's like, I have a Blues Junior, so I played to this Blues Junior, and it was one of the best sounding amps. Max,
I swear by mine.
yeah.
All smaller gigs. Not just because it sounds cool, but it's way lighter. And the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't need to take the 412 cab or this and that.
And that's something I kind of want to touch base on too, as far as like the lower wattage amps. I have my own theory, and I don't mean to offend here. It's just my own theory, so please don't take offense. But I think a lot of the baby boomers, as they get old, I mean, think about it, the baby boomers. Those were the guys using the super leads. Those are the guys using the 4x12s, right? Am I wrong there?
Old Basemans or something.
Yeah, exactly. The heavy gear.
Yeah.
So now what happens is you get these guys that are like, man, I really like that old Bassman I had, or I really like that old Twin I had, but it weighs 1 billion pounds. So maybe I want a Princeton or a Deluxe Reverb. So what happens? The cost of those, like I was in my favorite shop the other day, and I saw a super, super clean Deluxe Reverb. And, I was like, kind of interested in it. I knew I couldn't afford it, but I figured I'd ask. It's like, what do you want for that? He was like, well, that one's pretty clean, so I want top dollar. So I was like, okay, what's top dollar? He said $2,800. Whoa, right?
It's cool, but not $2,800 cool.
Right?
Oh, man.
Which kind of, this is a little off subject, but that's nothing new. You guys know one of my favorite amps ever is a Marshall 2061, right?
Sure.
Okay.
You even named your child after it.
No, my name.
2061's a terrible name for a child.
My wife named my child.
It's my son.
And it was
She-
after a
so
TV
she
character.
loves that amp too.
Yeah, she does. She's more of a JTM 45 kind of girl.
But
It's even a worse name for a kid.
Yeah.
This has letters, though.
At least it has letters.
This is my son, JTM. But his son, 2061.
My grandson's going to be JCM.
JTM.
Right? 800. But so the thing that drives me nuts, and I hope I don't catch any slack for saying this, but the reissues, the hand-wired reissues of those 2061s, I think are around $1,800. Well, I was talking to a store out in LA that specializes in nothing but vintage British amps. High watts, Sound City, Vox, everything. Marshalls, of course. He had several 68 through 72s. I think they made them till 74. I can't remember. But he had these old vintage ones, and he wanted like $2,000 and $2,200. And it's like, why would you spend? I guess maybe a warranty or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Probably don't blow up as much.
It's kind of the whole thing. If you can get the money for it,
Right. Well, yeah. I don't know.
I don't know why people would want to spend that additional money for it, but
See, not me. I would rather spend the extra $400 or $200 and get the real deal. See, wouldn't you? No, you'd rather go the $1,800. See, but you're more of an electronics guy.
It depends. I'm saying this because I've never opened up both of them to compare them side by side.
It's probably the exact same.
So, could be, but a lot of times, like some of the old capacitors they had back then may not be exactly like they make now. They may have the same brand name technically, but it may still not be exactly. And parts do kind of wear in a little bit over time, and just stuff changes over time.
That's an interesting point.
So, you totally could have the exact same thing, exact same parts,
Circuit, layout, parts.
yeah, and it sound different. That's
right.
That actually could happen, but I don't know, man. Here's where I'm coming from. If I get an amp, I'm probably going to open it up and start changing.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. I was like, yeah, but you're different,
Yeah.
and not trying to exclude you here. But the thing is if you get an amp and you're like, oh, it sounds good, it could sound better. You know what I mean?
What's if I try this?
Yeah, yeah. Last time I did, I have to use chopsticks. I'll never forget. I opened up an amp I had.
There's fried rice in there.
Yeah, exactly. I said exactly, and I didn't even mean to.
Travis.
I didn't even
You
mean
said
to.
exactly? Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Oh jeez. I hear lawsuits now.
I think you're a bunch of racists.
No, I'm not. Stop it. Don't single me out here. Now I'm all flustered.
So chopsticks.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So I opened up my Rivera, right? Because I got tired of taking it to the shop. And, Paul, if you're listening, man, it's nothing against your amps, but this one I've played it forever, and it's
Blown it up.
Yeah.
6 times.
Yeah, a bunch, man. I've mistreated this amp. So it's nothing about your amps. It's just the way I've treated this one. But I got tired of paying for the repair costs on it. So I finally decided to turn it on. And keep in mind, this was before I knew anything. So the way I fixed my amp was I stood with one hand in my pocket on a rubber mat with a chopstick, and I just kept poking at stuff until I heard it go.
That's oddly enough, that's actually a way that a lot of guys will fix things. I mean,
Really?
seriously, poking on stuff, because if there's a bad connection there, you'll hear it.
Yeah, exactly, right? I heard a. I was like, that's it.
Bad cap.
Oh, okay.
Or tube socket or whatever you're poking on.
Right, that's
But
so funny.
That's actually a method that people use.
I mean, I knew that was, and that's why I did that.
I mean, that's,
I learned that in amp fixing school, right? Right?
It would have been funny to see that. I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Poking stuff with a chopstick. That makes sense.
Yeah. Although it's nothing. We've both tinkered around before we started working here, Max. I remember you brought over a modified DS1. He's like, check it out. I decided to put it in a wooden box. And I'm like, what? And there was all kinds of ground issues in it.
Yeah.
I have no idea why.
That's because Boss Pedal has that plastic sleeve at the back, And I had lost that or thrown away because I was stupid. So everything kept grounding out. So I put a painter's tape to like barrier as a barrier, and that wasn't working.
Yeah.
So I was like, wood isn't a conductor. I'll build the enclosure out of wood. Right? So like the top of it's metal and the rest of the enclosure is wood. I was like, dude, it's boutique. You want to? It's literally teak.
There's been people that actually have done that, but a lot of times because there's shielding is what you need. And that's kind of what the enclosure provides is shielding for noise and other things. So
I know that now.
Yeah. So if you take like copper and line the inside with copper, you can build wood boxes all day long.
Boom.
See,
Patent pending.
I think most people build wood boxes because they wanted to. I did mine because I had to because I don't want to hold the circuit.
Kind of like a casket for a pedal.
Yeah. But you're a woodworker, man.
Yeah, I enjoy woodworking.
Yeah. Remember that time I had to make a ramp for my dog?
Yeah,
my dog had to have surgery on her back because, she's paralyzed or whatever. But anyway, so I was like, I'm gonna make a ramp, and she learned to walk again. But I'm gonna make a ramp for my deck, right? And so I'm like, man, you're good at woodworking, right? Can you come over and help me? He's like, yeah. He didn't do anything. He just sat there and watched me. He drank beer. I'm like, what do I do here? He's like, hit that button on that saw, man. It'll make it go at an angle. Then you'll lop at an angle, but it's a real hard cut. You'll probably mess it up.
I showed you how to do it, and you did it.
It's cheering you on.
Yeah.
So if you teach a man to fish, you gotta read that book. It helps. Anyways,
is that the Bible?
I think so.
Okay.
I read Abraham Lincoln on the internet. I think he said that.
I got Logan on that one. Okay, anyway.
This show is so blasphemous. Let's keep going.
Okay, yeah. And that's how we lost our listeners. But back to the amps thing. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. There was a Bad Cat, like little bitty amp, and it was like 1 watt.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, I don't know if I was supposed to do this, but it had a line out, and I went into it and out of it into another amp. Is that right? Because I was at a music store, and some guy was like, hey, try this. And I remember plugging into that, but it was coming out of the other amp, and it wasn't just hooked up to that speaker cabinet.
I don't know that exact circuit. If it's like the line out, is it like a speaker line out, or is it like
it's like a line
effects
out,
loop type of line out?
Like a recording, like you could plug it into something else.
Well, if it's like a recording out, that's not bad. If it's like line level going out, that might.
Right, I can't remember, but it sounded awesome. It was like it just slammed the front of this amp, and it was amazing.
Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, you basically had a really loud booster in front of another.
Exactly,
amp.
It was like a pedal, only it was an amp.
Did smoke come out of it?
No, I didn't let the factory.
Then you did it right. If it didn't smoke, it didn't blow up.
Speaking of which, I have a question. I don't know if anybody out there's tried this, but on Fender style amps, or I guess. I don't know. I do it with my Fenders all the time, but I'll go into channel 1 with my guitar, but I can plug a cord into the channel 2 and then out into another amp. How does that work?
I used to know this. I
think there's still signal. Let me think. I think the 2 stages are tied together.
Okay.
And so you can get signal out of it that way.
It's messed up. It sounds fantastic.
Cool. It's the same principle as like jumping channels.
It's been a while since I looked at
that. I don't know.
I don't spend a lot of time looking at amp schematics, but
you should.
I should, except I build pedals.
But we could build amps.
We could.
You have built amps.
But then,
you know what? I want people to email us at podcast@wamplerpedals.com.
And if you say we should build amps, I have 2 for sale right now. If you email us, I'm going to say $1,500. It's yours. There you go. Guarantee.
Why does the price always change every time?
I don't remember what price we were selling at. It's somewhere in that area.
That's a deal because you've told me $1,600 before.
It's something.
Okay,
like that.
You heard it here. $1,500 for his 20 watt.
It's like a brown face deluxe-ish sort of thing.
We'll throw in a T-shirt.
Throwing a T-shirt.
Throwing a T-shirt and a guitar pick.
No, I wonder if people would buy a Wampler amp. Right? We'll find out. See if we get any podcast at wamplerpedals.com.
I'm saying we get. I'm holding my breath. I guess.
Wait, pass out.
Yeah, passing out's not good. I thought I was gonna pass out earlier. It's not good, huh? Yeah, I ate. It's whatever. But so,
and with that description,
drink a lot of beer on.
I drink a lot of beer, and that's when I'm gonna pass out. But so the one I'm with you. Have you played any of the smaller wattage? Like I did, like the Epiphone Valve Junior, but not enough to keep it. I kept the head out of it and put another amp in it.
See,
You have one?
Yeah, I think I bought it with you. It was like I got a used one for like $50.
Oh yeah.
Put a 12AU7 instead of the 12AX7.
Yes, that's right.
Sounds killer, dude.
Yeah, if you do, that is true. If you put an AU7,
I used to do some modifications to those, yeah.
and it's a super simple mod because you open it up, that little board is right there. I mean, it actually is really, really. If you know what you're doing and you know how to not shock yourself.
I wonder why Blackheart quit making those, because I thought they were
No,
selling
that's
those.
Epiphone.
That's
You're talking about
Epiphone.
the Blackhearts.
Yeah, Blackheart had
That's
their
different.
own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Came out at the same time.
Yeah, right around the same. That's kind of when the craze started because it was like, holy crap, you can get a tube amp for $100. You know, that the head was $100 and it was, you know, and it looked good. You know,
Well, I put mine in a cherry cabinet.
Did you?
That one was on purpose,
'Cause you're
not because
such a
I had ground
woodworker.
issues.
Shielding issues.
No, it really was like I got some extra cherry later on.
Yeah, there you
Build
go.
something.
But if you guys know what you're doing and know how to shock yourselves, or not shock yourselves, more importantly, then they're fun to mod. But don't ever mess with anything unless you know what
Chopsticks.
Chopsticks.
No, don't just for liability issues. Don't open up your amp.
Yeah, good point. Do not open up your amplifier. Take it to an authorized repair center.
Exactly.
Yeah, I said so. But so yeah, that is cool. You can take an AU7 and put it in that. Well, it's the only preamp tube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So only two. That's it.
Yeah, you can get some great tones out of that. But I'm with you, Brian, man. To me, I can't see, I don't know, 50 watt amps what I like. Ideally, I wish I could play a 1987 circuit, you know, that Plexi circuit, a 50 watter. That'd be my amp. You know, they're just so expensive. But, okay, so that kind of ties that up, right? The small wattage thing, you know, right?
I think so.
Okay. Another thing too, we kind of touched on it with there's so many different aspects of this, but cloning pedals. So I kind of want to get into both aspects. I want to get into what do you think of major manufacturers, not major manufacturers, but you know, people who sell pedals, manufacturers. What do you think of them cloning pedals? And then what do you think of, say, somebody cloning our pedals? You know what I mean?
I have a couple different takes on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's companies that are, you know, inexpensive pedals made in China or whatever that will take all different kinds of schematics they find online.
Like triple rack, I see those that one a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, there's another company with 4 letters I'm thinking of off the top of my head.
Gotcha. They make the. Can I say it or no?
Nah. But yeah, Google and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But you know, it's basically a bunch of pedals that some are boutique, some are not, and they put another name on them, and that's their line. Actually, it's not just the Chinese. I mean, there's other ones I know. But,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other ones I know. Actually, that there's circuits that are out there. I mean, their whole research and development basically means there's a guy on freestompboxes.com downloading schematics.
Yes.
And
Scared me.
important phone call. Time out. No,
It's the proprietor of my favorite music store that's calling me. It truly is.
Put him live on there.
Yeah, I should. He's got an awesome voice.
He really does.
And mustache.
Yeah, and he always answers the phone. Really good.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not real crazy about that. Leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I mean,
Of course.
me personally, I mean, I could understand why a company would want to cash in and do that.
Right.
I mean, that makes sense to me business wise. Ethically, I think it's kind of a crappy thing to do.
Now, the company you're talking about.
And there's actually a couple of companies doing it, but the one I said that has 4 letters.
Yeah. Right. And the big pedal.
That's a real popular one right now.
The big pedal is I think that they kind of borrowed. I'm saying that nicely.
One of ours?
Was it the Plexi Drive?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that was
gotcha.
one
Okay.
Now, of course, I found that you can buy a Chinese-made triple rec that looks just like ours, branded as ours.
Exactly.
Sounds nothing like
It's
Yeah, but you're going to get a cardboard PCB.
It's not the same
you
thing.
know?
I mean, you don't. It's not the same parts in it.
Right.
There's so many things that go into something
and
like
I think
that.
And I think on theirs they call it the cream and crunch instead of hard and brutal, right?
I don't remember.
It's something like that. Yeah, so you want to look out for that. I mean, basically, if a deal is too good to be true, chances are it is.
Yeah, and there's some different things you can kind of tell. If you play them side by side, you'll notice right away what the difference between them for sure. If you open them up, you'll notice a huge difference. Cheap parts versus great parts, for example.
Yeah,
and we use very expensive circuit boards. Another example.
And never be afraid to email the manufacturer and ask them. Say, hey, I saw this. They're saying it's brand new. And chances are, if their map is, or their retail cost is $200, and you see one for $89.99 brand new, chances are. But don't be afraid. I mean, I don't mind that when people email me.
I mean, other things. I mean, there's other boutique companies or whatever you want to call it. Who build clones. Of course, there's tons of those. And then we're coming out with our tube screamer thingy with a 3-band EQ.
Yeah, which is the Clarksdale.
The Clarksdale, yeah.
Which
I guess the way I'm looking at it, we don't usually do a lot of clones. You know what I mean?
Never. I mean, you did the Underdog, right? That's
we
the
did
only
Underdog. Eagle compressors based off that Dynacompish style thing.
Mm-hmm. That's a VCA.
Not a
style.
direct clone, but I mean, still, it's derived from that sort of circuit.
Right.
But I mean, my whole thing is, if I do something like that, I'm going to be very upfront about it. I'm not going to say, "Oh, well, I completely designed this from scratch and totally."
Reinvented the wheel.
Reinvented how a JFET works. So I'm pretty clear on that. And I guess I don't know if all companies are that way or not. Personally, from my point of view, ethic wise, I think it's probably the best thing to do if a company says, "Okay, this is our fuzz face or whatever."
Right. And one thing I will say is the major companies out there, and I'm not going to say any names, but the major companies out there are forthright with it because it does them no good not to be. And what I mean by that, with the gear page and freestompboxes.com, it's not hard to find out what a pedal is. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So let's say imagine if we released the Clarksdale and we never said that it was based off a tube screamer, everyone would know in a matter of a month that it is a tube screamer with a 3-band EQ. Mm-hmm. So you can't hide behind that anymore. So any pedal that's based off that, most companies, the ones I follow anyway, I think Earthquaker just put out the Palisades, and they came right out and said, "Hey, it's based off a tube screamer, but it has every option you could ever want." That's how we made it. Either the one thing you always preach, Brian. I'll come to you and say, "Hey, we ought to do something like this," and you say, "Well, it's already been done." I'm like, "Yeah, but we could do it." And the question you always have for me is, how do we do it? Either A, better, or B, different. Right. Better or different.
Right. My whole thing is, for example, let's take the tube screamer. Mm-hmm. I don't ever see us doing a 3-knob tube screamer, no mods, no changes.
Right.
Or well, ours is different because it has true bypass. That's been done a million times by a million different people. I don't want to just put another version of it out because it has Wampler on it.
Of course, and that comes back to the wah pedal.
That comes back to the wah pedal. Why don't you put a wah out? And my question is,
what the heck am I going to do to it?
How do I make it different or better?
Right.
Dunlop has 18 different versions of the wah pedal, for example.
And let's face it, nobody wants a different wah pedal. And there's market research to prove that. Look at the Morley wah. Didn't it use light, right?
Opticouplers,
yeah. Yeah. So it was that is completely revolutionary. It's completely different.
And the thing you got was people saying, but it doesn't sound like a Crybaby or a Vox.
People don't want different, even when they say they do.
Not with that, they don't for sure.
Right. With the wah-wah pedal.
And there's exceptions. There are guys that like the Morleys, for example, because
of course.
They don't sound like the Crybaby wah. But
exactly.
For the the biggest thing, especially when it was really big, 7 or 8 years ago, whenever it was, and I was doing a lot of mods. That was the thing I kept hearing is, how can you make my Morley into a Vox? And no, you need to buy a Crybaby.
You need something with gears.
You need you need that circuit.
Right. Yeah. So that's the one thing I always thought was cool is the better or different thing. So the one thing I'll say about clones. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's something interesting going on right now with the Klon.
There really is right now, isn't there? Yeah.
You see, everybody and their brother. It's now since Bill Finnegan, the creator of Klon. I don't know the whole story. I know Bill, but I don't recall the exact story, whether he just didn't make them for a while or whether it was problems with manufacturing, but whatever the reason, they didn't come out, like it was planned on.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of other companies said, we're going to start
We're gonna ride that wave.
We're going to start making clones, and have been doing. Some of them have done really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, look like Electro-Harmonics.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I
Soul
blame you, EH, for that soul food because it's fantastic.
I mean, they probably sold like bajillions. That's a real number too.
Yeah, it is a real number. But there's a company out there that they do great work. They do great mods, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they buy them so they can mod them and sell them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and that's great because they're doing the different or better, they're doing both. So, I mean, I have no problem with that. But you're right, man. I mean, we were looking today, at a clone, and I mean, they called it something that was well, they didn't really call it something close, but the graphic on it was close. They used the same colored style knobs, and they used the same finish. It was like definitely a clone.
Unmistakably.
Yeah. Perfect word for unmistakably a clone. So, yeah, you love the clone.
I kind of want one just for bragging rights, though.
But you actually like the sound of it, right?
I played a couple I like, and the other ones I didn't like. I really, just as a collector, though, I really, really want one.
Right.
Just to have in the garage. When people come over and be like, hey, check what I got. Do you ever play it? Nah. Sit to myself.
It's not going to impress people that don't play guitar.
You don't impress people that don't.
It's true. I don't impress. No, you get that backwards. I don't impress people that do play guitar.
No.
That was hurtful. Oh, remember the thing you said to your wife that one time? So Max and I have this thing. Can I tell the story?
You can tell the story. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
Max.
too late now.
Max and I have this thing to where, like, if we're at a loss for words and somebody insults us, well, it's off Tommy Boy, right?
Yeah.
He's like when he's like, you're what's he say?
You're talking about the candy, I think.
Yeah, the candy shell.
Yeah, it's like, you have a thick candy shell.
Yeah, and he said like his head was like a thin candy shell. So he looked back and goes, yours is like a thin candy shell. So it's like when we have nothing to say like that, we'll say that. So so his wife, correct me if I'm wrong, future wife, made him some food. And she said, how's it taste? I think it's kind of doughy. And he goes, you're kind of doughy.
But it was one of those things, as soon as I said it was B's and G's. She's like, the biscuits are kind of doughy. I'm like, you're kind of oh, crap. No, I said, crap.
Oh.
But it was one of those things, like, she looked at me and I was like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that. And she's like, I know, it's fine.
Yeah.
As soon as I said, I'm like, oh man, she's going to laugh or throw something. And she was holding a pan full of gravy. I'm like, this will not be good.
Or will it?
No, burning hot gravy with a cast iron skillet being thrown at you is never good.
Or would it?
No.
Okay. It is gravy.
But it burned.
Okay. Way off track. But the cloning pedals, I mean, there's no way to get around it because there's always going to be fuzz faces. There's always going to be tube screamers. Those
big muffs,
and rats, especially the big muffs.
Yeah.
And I think, is that because a fuzz circuit is so easy to kind of learn, and is it because it's easy to mod?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because like, for example, let's take like a fuzz face. It's actually much easier to build like a tube screamer with op amps because it's pretty hard to mess it up.
Okay.
With like a fuzz face or transistor based type circuit, you gotta mess with different biases and stuff like that. So some transistors won't
Only if
sound
you want
as
it to
good.
sound good.
Yeah.
To actually make one, you don't have to. But if you
Yeah,
want it
but,
to sound
but if you want it to sound good, I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff like that. So
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure why exactly that was kind of where the beginning of the boutique guys started gravitating to.
But you notice that too. It's
Yeah.
not just me that thinks that.
No,
it's definitely the fuzz or the big muff or the fuzz face. It's something there.
And it's, I mean, I think it's kind of spreading out, not quite as
Right. But when the
as
big boom
type-
hit.
yeah, it definitely was a lot of stuff, like a lot of fuzz type stuff.
And that's one thing that I thought was kind of odd about Wampler when I first started. I mean, I met you, man, it was probably 7 or 8 years ago in a guitar center. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I asked you was, I was like, hey, man, you make any fuzz? And you're like, not really. Everybody else does.
Well, that was my whole thing. Even people would email and say, will you build me a fuzz face? I would just say no. Go buy a fuzz face.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. So,
I mean, because it's the whole different or better. What are you going to make it? You're going to do put different transistors in there? Okay, that's been done 1,000 times.
right.
Are you going to, put a different input cap on there. Been done
Right.
1,000 times.
And then there was that
You know?
one time you made a fuzz pedal that was so unique and so different that nobody liked it.
Yeah.
And then but wait. And then there was that time that you made a fuzz pedal and I said you should release it. And then you said, if it fails, you're fired. And I said, okay, go ahead. And it's doing good.
It is doing really
It
good.
is doing real good.
I told you it was going to work. Told you people love it. No one listens to me, though.
Right. You're like, you sure people want a fuzz? We're not known for fuzz. Our last fuzz wasn't good. It didn't do good. You sure
You're
we
like,
should do a
That's
fuzz?
because I thought your last fuzz sucked. I'm like, what'd you think?
But the premise of that fuzz was amazing. It just didn't sound the same.
Well, and it was because I wanted to do it different or better.
And
it was different.
It was completely different. But that being said, now that it's discontinued, everybody wants one.
Well, it's because it's
You can't get
It's
it.
not a big muff. It's
It's
not
a clon.
fuzz face. It's it's a fuzzed clon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But no, there's a lot of heavier bands that love it. I still get people and big bands saying, "Hey man, can I get one?" And
Yeah.
it's like, sorry, I hate being that guy to say
Right.
no, but
Yeah, they're gone. They're all gone.
Yeah.
I have seen a few stores online that still have
well, right.
one or two.
I mean,
but
from us,
from us, yeah, we have no more circuit boards or anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's what you guys are talking about. Why don't you tell them?
Because we can't admit.
I'm not going to admit failure.
Well, it's not a failure.
No, I know, I'm teasing.
You
I'm
still
teasing.
sold a ton of them.
Yeah, it just
not at
It
a
wasn't
rate.
it wasn't what the majority of fuzz people wanted.
Right.
That's really what it came down to because people were saying it's not a fuzz face.
Exactly. And it
not
goes
a
back to like the
big
Morley
muff.
Wall thing. You know
It
what
goes
I mean?
back to the Morley Wall thing.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. So the thing as a manufacturer is like, what can I do that's better or different or both that people will still want? And I tell you what, man, you gotta love places and things like the Gear Page. Think about no other like, I don't know, industry can get that kind of research for free.
Yeah, big time.
You know, you can put out a product and instantly see how it's doing.
Right, and that's just one of the good things.
Other
about,
than sales.
Let me get on my marketing soapbox here. That's one of the good things about the internet because
they have it on computers now.
But I mean, think about it. Like if you were a company in the 90s or 80s, you could not get market research like that without spending a ton of money.
Oh, I know.
You know,
So thank you, Gear Page. But no, some great stuff here. We touched on the higher versus lower wattage amps and the cloning pedals and the cloned pedals. We could go on that forever. So let's kind of call it there for now. We may kind of hit that again later, don't you think?
I think so, yeah.
So
Talk forever about it.
So if you guys have any questions, ideas, or anything, feel free to email us at podcast@wamplerpedals.com. We'll get back to you, and we use your idea or comment or anything on the show or podcast. We'll send you a free T-shirt. Yeah, that's still good, right?
Yep.
Okay, it's not my money.
Sure.
So thank you guys for listening. I'm Travis.
I'm Max.
I'm Brian.
And by the way, the man behind the tone curtain is totally catching on. I can show you the emails where people are saying "man behind the tone curtain."
Hashtag wrong is taking off more.
Hashtag wrong.
Yeah.
Hash brown wrong.
Hash brown.
Wrong hash browns. Sounds like an awesome name for a band.
It does.
Introducing Wrong Hash Brown.
We're going to have to get to your band name on a later show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Till next time.